Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on July 10th, 2012, picking up where we left off in the last episode. And when we left off, we had just gotten a really bare-bones Jake file set up so we can do build automation. And of course, build automation is important so that we don't have to don't have to have a checklist to follow. We just want our code to build itself, basically. I say it's important, but a lot of people just rely on their IDEs to do it, or just, load files in a browser or something like that. This is, I think, one of the most basic elements of professional development in general, is having some sort of automation. And an automated build is really essential for continuous integration. Now, I remembered as I was editing together the last video, I realized there was another engineering task we need for our first story, which is that we need to have static code analysis, or Lint, on our system, because JavaScript is very error prone. It's pretty easy to leave stuff out. For example, I left out a semicolon right there. We need some way of seeing those mistakes. Let's get back to getting the automation going. What we need most of all is some sort of default task. And I'm not sure what that's going to do yet. But we want to be able to just run Jake and have it do its default thing. All right, there we go. That's really that. We have our automated build. Do we need to do anything else with it? Nope. I don't think so. So we can check this in. Ta-da! All right. So next, linting. As part of the preparation for the Kickstarter, I did a whole bunch of lint-based stuff, and I'm just going to refer you to that. I actually did, well, I'm not going to just refer you to it. I'm going to show it to you. So I did this whole thing to automate lint, which you can find on GitHub. Here it is, auto commit. This is kind of a neat thing I did to show test-driven development of a lint runner. And that lint runner will run a linting tool for us. So if you want to know about that, you can look through this source repository, or you can look at the lessons learned video screen test I did for that, which I will link to on the website. Linting, and in case you don't know what that is linting is a way of analyzing your source code, look for mistakes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy that previous code into here. So let's see. I think the place I'd like that to go is in a builder. My thinking here is that this will house all of our build related code, stuff that's only used for build. So let's make a lint dir, and then we can take this and copy it here, and let's take this, call it lint runner test, and bring that over as well. Then we can put both of these here. There. So there's our lint runner. People always ask me why I put underscores in front of my tests. It's so that I can put them in the same directory and have them sort to the top. Really straightforward. So I brought the tests over just because I figure we'll probably change this over time. And I could go back to the original repository and make the changes there, but I think in this case we're more likely to be actively working on this here. The lint runner is fairly straightforward. It exports it uses JS hint under the covers. And again, you can look at that lessons learned screen test that I made for it to see the details. But it uses JS hint under the covers, and you pass in a list of files, some options, and some globals, and it will run lint on it for you. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this linked into our build automation. So we want this to run lint by default. Okay. All right, we've got that running. Now, we actually need to use the lint runner. The way we do that I think is like that. It's been a little while. And we're going to lint that with, well, the Jake file. And ask it to validate that with no options. All right, I hope this works. You know what? It's not going to work. We don't have JS hint installed yet, do we? Nope, can't file in JS hint. Well, that's okay. We'll install it using npm. Let that do its thing and try again. There we go. Hey, that's awesome. It worked. I'm always surprised when something I do works. Perfect. Look at that. Cool. Okay, so again, if you're interested in how that works, take a look at the lessons learned video I linked. I'm going to link on the website, or you can look at the auto commit logs to see how they work. The neat thing about the auto commit is, as an experiment, I wrote a little script to automatically check in every time the build state toggled, so you can see it changing, fairly quickly. Okay, so now that we've got lint working, let's go ahead and let's call this initial support for linting. There we go. I don't know if I've said this already, I really like the way NPM puts all of its modules locally, because what that means is if I check this in and you clone the Git repository, get a copy for yourself, you can just run it. You don't have to worry about any dependencies. They're all there in the repository for you, which means that this repository will run as long as we have Node installed. In fact, to build, say assumes presence of node.js and run Jake.js. There we go. Now, what's next? Well, we're validating one file, but really what we need to do is we need to pass in a list of files, and that's not as easy as it might seem. In order to do that, we want to ask Jake to find all files for us. And how do we do that? It's something called a file list. There we go. Yeah, here's the instructions. We'll need and we're going to ask it to include everything ending in star.js. in JS. The glob star here means search subdirectories as well. Then we'll ask this to search to validate file lists and pass in files.toArray. There we go. Let's see if that works. No. So does not work. Oh, it's linting everything in node modules, I think. And that we do not want. So let's exclude I think it's working. Yeah, it's working, but it's failing this stuff. And the reason for that, I think, is that we don't have our options set up properly. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we had our Jake file set up for lint runner, or for the auto commit, and maybe we can steal some of that. Yeah. So we'll need, so the way JS hint works is it takes a whole bunch of options that configure what the linter looks for and what it ignores. And that those options are in an object. And we can tell it that we're using node. And I believe that will turn on a whole bunch of presets that will work the way we want. Okay, this is looking more and more promising, but we also need to add the Jake globals because it's not finding those. Okay, now we're getting closer. Doesn't like the tests I've got set up. I'm going to take those tests out because I'm not certain that we can always bring them back later if we decide to make changes to this code. But I was just experimenting with test runners when I was doing that lint code, so I'm not sure that we're going to want to use those same tests in the future. Okay, so it looks like it's working. We're probably going to want to do a little more work with lint and that before we move on to the next thing. But that is all the time we've got for this episode. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. I will catch you next time.